Welcome to another episode of Platonic Mysticism. Today we're going to be doing something a bit different. We're going to be exploring Khora, the search engine for philosophy and social media done otherwise. The social media features have not been implemented yet, but the search engine function is up and away. Eventually will be open access, so you'll be able to submit your own content to Khora to help people learn to live the philosophical life. And so today we thought we would model it for you, since this is a product of Platonic inspiration, if you will. So we thought it would be apt to show you how we might use Khora to simulate philosophical conversation and relationships. Oh, dear Diana, tell me why do the things that are beautiful always have a darker side? Oh, dear Diana, tell me why is the good never good enough?
So just on the Khora.world website, and just going to click the search for Khora option, and then this brings us to the actual platform.
And if you're a member of our Discord, you can submit all sorts of ideas that you would like to see in Khora, as well as content that you would like to have ingested while we're waiting to implement the social media features. So please feel free to join our Discord and talk about your own experience with Khora. And so here, what would you like to learn about? So I think we were going to put in Platonism.
Yeah, so we can see there's a few suggestions already on the interface in terms of different themes and ideas. So you could just jump in and look at some of those if you like. We can click on the search here with this companion.
And there she explodes.
There we go. Yeah. So a topic that so far has been reasonably well populated in Khora, but in time, I guess we hope that anything that you search for on here is going to have a multitude of different connections and ideas. So let's zoom out a little bit here and to see some of the different connections. Okay.
Oh, negative
There's one that
theology.
interests me. Negative theology and Platonism.
I'm hoping that she'll make the connection to the Parmenides. Oh, yes, Plato's Parmenides
Yeah.
is there. So,
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So here's the summary.
and again, these summaries are something that will be open source. You'll be able to change and adapt what each summary says, so that they won't be completely generated by Khora, but by a combination of users working together to make stronger, clearer summaries. But the summaries are not what we hope people will pay attention to. So,
Yeah, so this is an interesting idea, isn't it? One that we've, I think, talked about before in some of our other discussions around philosophy, meaning, intuition, the inexpressible, the ineffable, the apophatic. So this concept of negative theology, which we find worked out in famously in texts like the divine names, the mystical theology of Pseudo Dionysius. But of course, as you said, it has an earlier version expressed in the Parmenides, the question of being and non-being, as well as various strains of mystical thought, really, across many traditions. The idea of what can and cannot be said, I suppose.
yeah, and how it is that we can even think not being, and
Mhm.
that doesn't lead us into absurdities, right? So one of the things that I love about the nature of dialectic is that it shows us that we can in fact think what is not, and so that means that what is not has some sort of substance of some sort. We
Mm,
don't know, but that's one of the questions that Plato is grappling with.
mm,
But certainly, being able to connect it to a figure like Pseudo Dionysius would be my first step.
mm. Yeah, I mean, for me, it also speaks about other kinds of more phenomenal experiences in our life. So, for instance, when you look at a painting in a frame, in a sense, your experience of the framing of the picture and what's going on is relative to what's not in the picture and what's outside the frame. So the non-being of the image, as it were. So
Mm.
the kind of presence and absence play a part together, don't they? If the image wasn't framed at all and had no boundary, then in a sense it wouldn't make sense. So in a sense, the being of the image is only sensible in some respects in relation to its non-being.
Yeah, what it's not. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yeah,
Let's see. Can we scroll down and see what other content is in?
yeah. So yeah, would you want to say a little bit about what this is in terms of what we're seeing right now?
Yeah, so as you can see, these are a bunch of the content. So that these are the people who originally submitted content to us before we went live, so that Quora could be populated with philosophical materials, ruled by philosopher kings and queens, if you will, in this initial stage, so that the content in Quora has a strong base. And here we could see things like Plotinus against the Gnostics, of course, here trying to connect this idea of negative theology to, this kind of gnosis that Plotinus was adamant that, yeah, does the world an injustice when we think about the nature of what human beings are capable in regards to thinking, being, and non-being. And so here we are connecting Plotinus against the Gnostics through Edward Butler's polytheism and Greek philosophy, which had other connections as well. So here it's giving us links to a variety of different sources about polytheistic thinking as well. Find
Yeah,
that
so Butler's the author here of
yeah.
this text. So we have a number of other connections, and you can see as well, we've got some connections here to other kinds of themes,
Mm-hmm.
like unity and multiplicity.
Mm-hmm. Which,
Um,
for those of you who don't know, that was the first philosophical debate that my husband and I went through horrible rows over in the first few years of our marriage. So I fell on the side of the one, of course, and he the many, and then over the years we've flipped. So, anyways, I just thought that would be
yeah.
fun. Like,
Well, I guess a marriage is a unity and multiplicity, isn't
yeah,
it, as well?
yeah.
So, um,
Okay, so we've got content, we've got themes. Let's go ahead. Maybe we want to see what the Platonic mysticism, if what mystic, how we can connect all this to the topic of.
yeah. So, I mean, this is something we might find here in this field. We've got
Oh,
Platonic
there she is.
metaphysics, um, Platonic cosmology, but we could pull up a kind of separate search here. So mysticism as
Mm-hmm.
a broader field. I could spell.
Yeah.
There we go.
Oh, wow. And so now you can
Okay.
see how that topic is connected to Platonism in general.
Yeah, so we can see these kind of connective points here. So here's Platonic mysticism down in the middle. So this is a kind of center of energy, if you like, between some of the different nodes across these two different themes. So yeah, a few key connecting aspects here, Plotinus
Mm-hmm.
and so on. And yeah, here straight away, I think you can see a number of different themes that we've probably covered in different ways: Islamic
Yeah.
mysticism, language and mysticism,
Mathematical
Christian
mysticism, we
mysticism.
should totally do that one.
Yeah, let's have a look at mathematical mysticism.
The measure of things, Renaissance, mathematics and art, highlighting Peter Adamson's History of Philosophy Without Any Gaps, Anatomy of
Mhm.
Neo-Pythagoreanism, which, excellent show by Earl Fontenelle on the secret history of Western esotericism. And so if you go to connections, we might also be able to see further big ideas that
Mm.
mysticism and Platonic mysticism are connected to. What is this? Mysticisms.
mysticism isms. Yeah.
And see, here, that's the kind of thing you would, if you were working in core, you might want to challenge if it's a real node, right? A real topic in
Mm,
philosophy, and then be part and parcel of the project of cleaning, things like this up. And so, yeah.
yeah. Yeah, that's right. And we can see um if we jump down to this different view here, which is a personal view. These are the two um, areas that we've searched for, and then we can flip back to that community view and then see some of the other connections here as well. So it's a different way to navigate your experience of different connections. And of course, yeah, you could add something else in here as well, I guess. So
Should we make a
uh,
connection?
we could make a connection. So let's look perhaps here.
Ooh.
So
Zoroastrian influence on Platonism.
hmm,
Interesting. Got one piece of content there. Looks like. Oh, a little bit more. The Mideast, The Way of the Gods, Edward Butler, The Way of Being, Earl Fontenelle. So you can already see who our major contributors are.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
So
here we've
yeah,
got some connections, for example, but we could make our own, for example. So if we felt that there was another theme here somewhere where Zoroastrianism uh, was connected to Platonism in some way,
yeah,
we could link that. Um, I mean, Platonic mysticism, we've seen Platonism, Christianity, mystical experience. Um, so, for example, uh, mystical experience here.
altruism as
We
evidence
could
of
connect that over
mystical
here to.
encounter. Oh, nice, nice.
So, yeah, I've just connected mystical experience and Platonism. Yeah, what could we say there? We could say
Oh,
something like some aspects of Platonism emphasize,
embodied transcendence,
yeah,
and therein, we see this depicted in things like Socrates's, standing still for 24 hours during the Battle of Potidaea. That here, that experience, it's clearly some kind of mystical experience, but certainly also embodied, and so yeah,
yeah. There we go.
sweet. Now they're connected,
That are connected, and
and you've made a connection in your private world too, or?
so here we go. Look, we can see this very beautiful glow here.
And again,
Connection.
to let the audience know, you and Teresa were the beautiful artists behind the look of Khora currently. And so,
Yeah, I think we've got big ambitions for how we can develop this in the future. I mean, there's some kind of hints at that as you start to kind of zoom out and then re-enter. So there's this kind of inner outer space.
no.
Um,
And when we go back to having the three dimensionality, all the various different mathematical aspects of Khora will begin to pop a little bit more. And so,
yeah. So the world of forms, that's going to be a topic that there's probably quite a lot about. Popular idea in Platonism, as,
yeah.
as, as we know. Are
And as you
there
guys can probably see, there's no appeal to chairness here.
what is the archetype of a chair?
Yeah. Well, the reason why I mention it is because I find it to be one of the most like when you teach Platonism, most professors go to this idea of the ideal table or the ideal chair. And I know that from experience teaching Platonism, that just doesn't actually help students understand what a form is. And so, yeah, because intuitively people tend to get that it's a constructed thing rather than something absolute and eternal. And so it's easier to reject. I often call it the straw man
Yeah,
way of,
yeah. Well, it's a popular criticism. I mean, well, there's a couple of ways of looking at this. It's a popular criticism of a version of Platonism, we could say. Uh, for instance, Iris Murdoch, in her book, The Fire and the Sun, she levels this criticism against Plato, this idea of there being a kind of infinite regress of forms, of forms and forms and forms and so on. So, there's Platonic and Aristotelian arguments against that position. But yeah, I think generally one notion of Platonism, is there a form of every person? Is there a form of everything? And so on and so forth. Yeah, I think one riposte to that is that is based in a certain notion of temporality and not eternity. For example, there's a range of other things you could say about that. But it's interesting here because, of course, if you had those kind of questions and doubts, or you really just weren't quite sure how to respond to that criticism, or understand the challenges or the philosophical problems that arise out of those questions, then maybe you might discover some connections here or some ideas that help you to make sense of that.
So like here, if you
Um,
scroll down, you can see that Greg Sadler is a lecture on Plato's Republic, and so probably doing that good work of trying to figure out what are the limitations
mm,
of thinking about the forms, because the one of two instances where Plato appeals to the form of things is actually in Book 10 of the Republic, where he appeals to the form of a bed. The other instance, and the only other instance, when he appeals to things, is the shuttle in the Cratylus. And so, knowing that these are actually rare instances and they're being constructed for a pedagogical reason, but for the most part, Plato doesn't appeal to things as good examples of forms. And so
mm,
here we've got a lot more content by Greg Sadler. And again, if you pressed it, right, we would go out to where that content is. So you wouldn't have to stay in
yeah.
Quora currently because it functions like a search engine, like being a hub of all the philosophical material that's out there, rather than just searching, on a regular search engine that will not be able to direct you to, any resources like these. Rather, you end up just kind of falling into a sea of soup, so to speak, that some of it's philosophically relevant, most of the time philosophically reductionist, so that you end up getting summaries on the Wikipedia or other kinds of sites that don't actually link you to the content that could be helpful for you. And so,
Yeah, and what's interesting for me here, for instance, is I'm kind of interested in the theory of forms as it relates to the idea of making images of things. So um, if I make a painting that's a depiction of someone, is there some essence of that someone that I've managed to depict? And so you can see here, for instance, in related, there's a lot of things that are coming up here around art and its objects, imitative art, artistic representation, Plato's concept of imitative art. So, there's an interesting sideways step here in many respects, which you could make in terms of thinking about how this, let's say, ontological conception of being and forms and imitation and participation and such ideas takes you into a consideration of aesthetics and what is an image?
maybe
What
we
does it
should
mean to
connect
make
it to
copies?
like demiurgery as well, right? Like, so that here,
Mm,
the kind of activity of, yeah, of imbuing the world with form, in the same way that an artist is, takes material and looks to something, right, to kind of recreate the beauty that, for the demiurge is the intelligible living thing, while for the
Yeah.
artist, something along those lines as well. And so,
Well, we could walk through that scenario, couldn't we? So maybe I'll refresh the whole thing just to give
okay.
us an experience as if we um, just started again. So, we're just entering Khora again for the first time. And so we might search for demiurge. So the
Ooh.
demiurgic process.
So this is a good example of like, I know that there's demiurgic content, but the word demiurgy hasn't been linked to it. So
Mm,
doing that work of
yeah.
connecting it to the demiurge.
Yeah, there we go. You see, so I think this is just part of the process of building out the intricate web of connections and ideas here, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and particularly around terms which have a certain more abstract or philosophical meaning uh, out of more ordinary language, for instance. Um, so yeah, I mean, this is something we've covered as well as a topic,
Mm-hmm.
where we've discussed dialogues like the Timaeus, and the notion of creativity, um, imagination, um, yeah, the demiurge as maker, and so on. And as you said, I mean, uh, art. I mean, art's a huge topic. Maybe we could say something like creativity. Okay, that's interesting. So there's a nice kind of number of connections here.
Mm-hmm.
So the logos as a creative force is interesting. This is something we've talked about. Um, Creative coding. Now, here you go. Um,
Connecting that to demiurgy, great.
yeah, or divine madness and creativity,
Sweet.
connecting that to creative coding, for example.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, you might find if you're someone interested in you know coding and philosophy that there might be a connection you want to make here. So yeah, you could say, working with code uh, is a, vehicle of Platonic inspiration or something like that.
Or let's see, goodness, creative coding and divine madness and creativity. I would connect through thinking about the mystery of all sorts of things, codes and functions, and
Yeah.
yeah, so remembering that coding is also a process of leaving the rational behind, and recognizing the value of thinking through what you don't know. That's what I tend to think of as kind of process of indulging your madness, is letting yourself fall into the abyss of not knowing, which
Mm,
ultimately resembles a kind of bastard reasoning of Khora, if you know your Timaeus. And so,
mm. Yeah. So you could say something like that, for example, and that could start a conversation, couldn't it? Because that's going to
mhm.
create a link between hitherto unconnected um, nodes, and
And then
that's going
people
to
can
start to.
challenge that connection. And
Mhm.
so what's all
Yeah,
this stuff on the side? What are these things that are seemingly unconnected?
is kind of
Ah,
the demiurgic periphery.
yeah, the
Um,
demiurgic monad. Tell me about that. So here, the likely
yeah,
story. Nice. Cosmic. Oh, yeah. Hi, it's me.
let's have a look at this one, shall we?
Oh, gosh. All right. Yeah. So the demiurge is discussed in relation to prayer and striving for alignment with the divine and cosmic order. And the concept of monad can be related to understanding the ultimate divine unity or source from which all things emanate. What does that say? Emanate? Emanate? Sorry, it's so tiny. My eyesight. I'm like, oh goodness, I gotta make this bigger, like in
All things
old
emanate.
people.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Um, and yeah, well, and of course, we also have here, as we did with Edward Butler's contribution, sort of biography here of other, a bibliography rather, of other texts, scholarly articles, and so on, that are on Khora,
Mm-hmm.
and that we can kind of connect to, resources we can read, and so on. Good amount of content there.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
So I, as the author, know that it can make a whole lot more connections, right? So
mhm.
connections to, Cicero and his original advancement of more than four causes. But yeah, criticism of Aristotle's four causes is in that particular article. So if I were, doing the work of, wanting my stuff to be connected to more things, right? So that more people who are, researching Aristotle's cause would know that an article like mine challenges the kind of reading of Plato that Aristotle has with regards to cause, and shows that many Platonists were very critical of Aristotle's ideas about the God and divine causes. So,
Mm.
and that would
I think
be
what's really nice here as well is that, I was, thinking through that uh, discovery, let's say, or intuition that, as an artist working with coding, that I was inspired to kind of find a link between Platonism and my practice. And then, here I think, oh, that's interesting because, yeah, what's this about altered states and creativity? So, maybe this link's led me on now to discover another kind of connection here that it takes me maybe slightly out of what I'm familiar with and
mm,
introduces me to some new ideas, some new scholarship, non-ordinary states of consciousness. I mean, we can see this has a link to the idea of mania and the ecstatic and so on that we've discussed in Platonism. But maybe this takes me into some other spaces now as well. I mean, look, alchemical consciousness, varieties of religious experience, mysticism. We could really go on an interesting
yeah.
journey
So,
here in
for
terms of.
instance, I would never have connected alchemical consciousness after Descartes, because I didn't even know that there was such a tradition still alive and well in modernity. And so then I would definitely be finding myself going to Segal's. I believe it's going to be a podcast. Is that what that is, or text? Yeah. This is an article. Okay. So keep in mind, we have podcasts right now, we have videos, as well as essays, and eventually we're going to have art, people being allowed to submit art and gifts and all that fun stuff to help show people the varieties of ways that we can be thinking about these very, seemingly heady topics, but, getting people into the world of the kooky within philosophy and showing how they kind of grew up together is a lot of fun as well. And so,
Yeah. So I'm just going to take us back to our main site.
yeah.
And there's various bits of information here about Khora, um, things she currently does, things we're planning, partners, things we're doing as part of the development. Um, you can find out a bit more about some of the other features. We've only touched on a few of these
Mm.
to date, but this will walk you through a couple of different things that you can currently do.
And
And then,
in just a few days, we'll be implementing some other features, including voice activated features, as well as other ways to make connections and disconnections. So we're very excited about some of the things that we'll be rolling out in the next week or so.
yeah.
Okay, well, I think that gives them a basic introduction to kind of the cool, baby Khora, so that yeah, you know that she's always in development. That this is not going to be a static or fixed. Way that she's going to be done because again we believe in the power of other people and of creating communities that are going to build something just to be an alternative to what we've gotten used to with regards to how we peruse the internet and engage with others. Yeah, hopefully a space for doing philosophy with others.